When I first looked at going to a paramedic to RN bridge, I found one that I really liked. The only problem is that I had to compete for 10 slots. And I'm not going to lie, at first I thought it was like a misprint. I was thinking there's only 10 slots. And it hit me that I'm not competing with students, traditional students, to get into this program. I'm going to be competing with other paramedics. And I think that's when it hit me that I'm really, really going to have to step it up. So I'm going to really give you guys a good blueprint to follow if you're trying to get into a nursing program, whether if you're competing with paramedics or just traditional nursing students. If you follow my plan and my outline, I think I'll be able to get you in there. Welcome to my podcast. Now, as I mentioned earlier, just the thought of competing for 10 slots, it just kind of made me have like those, I guess you would call self defeating thoughts. Because honestly, I was thinking it's going to be hundreds and hundreds, and to compete against 10 slots for 10 slots, to me, the same choices is my same chances as winning the lottery, and I'm thinking, there's no way. But then I thought about it. Those 10 slots got to go to somebody. Why not me? But I think I kind of had a good head start because honestly, my plan was PA school. So I consistently put up good grades. And so I thought, what can beat all A's? All A's. So I made a determination that one of those slots were mine, and the rest of the people are going to have to compete for the other nine slots. So just looking back at it, they say that hindsight is 2020. So hopefully you can take my hindsight and make it your foresight. So here we go. Grades are everything. As I mentioned, I thought I had an advantage because I was prepping to compete for PA school. So in my thought process, I'm going to compete for 35 slots. It was just something about the 10 slots that kind of threw me for a loop. But it was the same preparation. In my mind, it was A's only. B's are nothing more than F's. And that's how it got to be your mind frame when you're approaching classes. It's either A's or nothing. A B is not a B is an F. You have to show that you're capable of learning and passing a standardized test. That's why they are so strict in this competition. I know I meet people all the time that say, "Well, I don't test well." Well, if you don't test well, then you might want to take a class on how to test or choose a different career. Because in nursing school, tests are everything. It's all about tests. Because you have to be able to pass the NCLEX to be an RN. Just because you go to nursing school and you get your associate degree in nursing or you get your bachelor's degree in nursing, that doesn't make you an RN. That just makes you a degree holder. You have to be able to pass that standardized test to be a registered nurse. And I can tell you from experience, NCLEX is not easy. Number two, seats are limited. If seats are limited, and I think it has to do more with nursing is a field that you can literally go in and within 2 years you can come out with an associate's degree and you can make $70,000 a year with just a 2 year education. Where some folk they can go into different careers and they can be in that career, they can be in the school and get the bachelor's in that program for 4 years and come out and not make nowhere close to that. So not only do you have a lot of people want to get into the nursing field, but because of the nursing shortage and the fact that nursing instructors are not paid as well as us that are literally inpatient doing patient care or in the inpatient practice in the hospital, nurses tend to kind of stray away from education, which leaves less spots. So if you have a nursing school and they may only be slotted for 40, maybe 30 to 40 slots, but you have 300 applicants, you're going to have to fight for that seat. So, sometimes, but not all programs are the same. And this is something that you can actually do the research yourself and find out. So, the way that nursing schools typically keep their accreditation is the board of nursing in that state has a minimum pass rate that the school has to maintain within a 3-year period. Let's just say if national pass rate for NCLEX is 70%, the board of nursing may say, well, you guys need to be 5 to 6% above national average. So that means that maybe 80%. Typically, most boards want a nursing exam usually to be around the 80 mark or 84. And typically, most programs typically be in the high 80s or low 90 mark. Now, you may have schools that are worth their worth are going to have very high NCLEX pass rates. Now, you do have some for-profit schools out here that I've seen, and they have really substandard entry requirements to get into the classes. To get into the school is really easy, but they have poor NCLEX pass rates. And the reason for that is because they have poor NCLEX preparation. And you have to be careful of that because some of these for-profit schools will charge you an arm and a leg to get in. And they have this philosophy where they get as many people as they can to class and they fill out as many people as possible to try to boost their NCLEX scores. But boards of nursing also have retention rates as part of their process. And if you have a school that has really low retention rates, then that's not looked at in a good, favorable manner. So with any school, make sure that you look up their NCLEX pass rate, and that'll give you a snapshot. And I think my point is, if you want if you want a school with a good NCLEX pass rate, it's just going to be competitive, and you just have to already have that in mind. Next, if you don't have all your prereqs, you're not going to be accepted. I know sometimes you can look at these brochures and say, well, I can take my prereqs while I'm going through these nursing courses. The problem is schools work on a point system. And to get the seats, they start from the list with the highest points down to the lowest points. So on your prereq classes, if you get A's on those classes, you get awarded so many points. B's, you get awarded so many points. C's, you get awarded so many points. And at the end of the day, they calculate those points up and they award those seats to the highest, the highest applicants with the most points. Problem is, if you don't have any prereqs, you're not going to have many points. It means you're not going to be ranked on the list to get a seat. So my advice is to take your prereq classes and make sure that you slow down and get all A's because again, nothing beats an A. So also, you're going to have most schools, where pretty much all of them have an entrance exam, whether if it's going to be what's called a HESI, TEAS, or NACE. You're going to have an entrance exam, and those entrance exam, those are kind of tied to what's called an NCLEX predictor. So if you score a certain amount of points on that test, it'll have the prediction on if you're able to take the NCLEX or not. I know when I took the TEAS, I made a 80 on the TEAS, and the NCLEX predictor said that I had a very highly likely chance of passing the NCLEX. This is because these entrance exams are standardized tests. So my suggestion is to take a prep course. And I know it's hard to find like TEAS prep course, HESI prep courses, but what I did was I got a TEAS prep book, and I think ATI was the company who made the TEAS. So I got a ATI TEAS prep book, and that's what I used to study to take the TEAS. And and it was right on point. It went over the areas that's testable so I can refresh myself or I can learn or concentrate on the areas to make my exam score bigger. For example, If you was to take the SAT, the people who score the highest on the test SAT, I guarantee you they take a SAT prep course. And it's the same thing. What if you want to take the SAT or the GRE? It's best to take a prep course. But if you can't take a prep course, then the second best thing to do is get a book and study yourself. And last, you know, just be prepared to to be uncomfortable. You're not going to like the schedule. It's not going to be easy. You're going to have a heavy workload with clinicals. You're going to miss holidays, family trips. You're not going to be able to go out and have a good time. And I give you something real to think about. For me, I had an hour and a half drive to class and clinicals. Also, when I chose days for my preceptorship, I chose days. I got placed on nights. I remember after every clinical, driving home early that morning with the windows down, AC blasting, listening to Busta Rhymes, to keep from falling asleep on the highway. And that's not to kind of make you guys laugh or to make you feel sorry for me. It's just the point of I was willing to do whatever it took. I bent my schedule around the school because everything mattered for me to become a registered nurse. And so, yeah, you may not like the schedule. Whoop de doo. Okay. You may not like how the professor's teaching you. That's okay. You may hate your clinical site. That's fine. You may have to wear some stupid shoes. That's okay. You may not agree with the scrub color you have to wear. That's fine as well. Everything's okay because it's only for a limited time. But the key is to finish school, take the NCLEX to become an RN. That's the goal. So keep your eyes on it. And just as closing, I want to kind of talk about some of your advantages you got. You don't necessarily have to try to get into a paramedic to RN program. If you guys are just competing for a traditional school slot for the school and for school of nursing, paramedics have a tremendous advantage. Number one, the instructors already know you have real world experience. You've talked to patients, you've assessed patients, you put your hands on them, you've been into their homes, you've had to deal with psych patients. You know how to handle yourself. You know how you've done all that before. They also know that you have clinical skills. You can run an IV. You know how to read capnography. You know how to interpret a 12 lead. These are advanced skills that the nursing instructors already know that you know how to do. You've taken a license or a certification exam. You've taken the state test. Or if you're like me, you've taken the state test and the national registry exam. But most importantly, they know that you have a baseline of anatomy, physiology, and patho. They know that paramedics have been extensively trained in these areas. So if you're going for a traditional school slot, as long as you have your prereqs are out the way with really good grades and you put up a decent score, you're going to get a seat into a nursing. You're going to get a seat into the next nursing class. It's just depending on what school you want to go to, and it's just a matter of are you willing to drive to that program, or maybe that program's local. It's just willing to you if there's something you want to do. So I'm not trying to scare you guys to think that you can't get into a program. You can, because as paramedics, we have tremendous advantage. It's just a matter if you want to go the bridge route or if you want to go the traditional route. In my opinion, I think traditional route, that seat is already ready for you if you want it. But with the bridge route, like I did with a limited number of seats, it may be a little bit more competitive. So hopefully I give you a good blueprint to get into the course. As always, hey, make sure you guys follow me on Instagram at paramedic2rninfo. Remember the number 2.